twin suns of planet Varine sank behind the red horizon, painting the sky in shades of burning gold. The air shimmered with dust and the wind carried the sound of silent hunger. Among the ruins of the old city walked Ariha, an alien mother with eyes that once held galaxies of hope. Now they only carried shadows. Her two small daughters followed behind, thin and weak, their silver skin pale and cracked under the dying light. Ariha knew they had not eaten for 3 days. Their world was dying. Water had turned bitter. Crops turned to dust, and the once great towers of Varine now stood like bones of forgotten giants. The empire of humans who came from the distant blue planet Earth had taken much from this world. They traded food, medicine, and technology, but always for a price no alien could easily pay. Tonight, Ariha would pay the ultimate one. She reached the gates of the human trade station, a giant black dome that glowed with white lights like cold stars. Guards in silver armor stood silent, their helmets reflecting her broken image. A voice came from the intercom, deep, emotionless, mechanical. "State your purpose." Ariha's throat was dry, but she spoke. "I am here to sell what I have left." The gates opened with a slow hiss. Inside, the station was clean, perfect, untouched by the decay outside. Humans walked in white suits, their eyes glowing with scanners, their words sharp and short. They looked at her as if she was a number, not a being. A man approached, tall, calm, and dressed in a long black coat. His name was Dr. Elias Ford, a trader, scientist, and buyer of alien organs. His voice was polite but cold. "You again, Ariha of Varine. I warned you last time, and there's nothing left you can sell." Ariha looked up, her face trembling. "I have one thing left, Doctor. My heart." The room went silent. Even the machines stopped humming for a moment. Dr. Ford frowned. "Your heart? That would kill you. If my daughters live," she whispered, "then let it kill me." For a second, something human flickered in his eyes. Pity, maybe even guilt. But business was business. He gestured for her to follow. Inside the lab, white lights glowed above metal tables. Glass containers held strange organs, hearts, eyes, bones, from dozens of alien races. Each was labeled, priced, and stored like a treasure. He looked at her carefully. "You understand, once it's done, there is no going back." "I understand." As the machines prepared, Ariha turned her gaze to the sky. Through a small window, she saw the twin moons of Varine rise together. Her daughters waited outside with a small bag of food the humans had given her for the trade. The last meal she'd ever give them. When the scalpel touched her chest, she did not scream. She closed her eyes and thought of the time she used to sing to her daughters in the blue light of dawn. Her song was old and about love, stars, and sacrifice. It echoed softly, then stopped. The machines beeped once, then silence. Dr. Ford stared at the still figure on the table. In the jar beside him floated her heart, glowing faintly, pulsing with alien light, as if it still loved the world it had died for. He signed the form, sealed the jar, and turned away. Outside, Ariha's daughters ate quietly, not knowing the price of their meal. Their mother's body would be taken to the desert by morning, unmarked, unremembered, but the heart she sold would not stay silent for long. That night, as Dr. Ford left the station, the jar on his table began to beat again, soft at first, then louder, like it was calling someone, like it was alive. He froze and turned back. The jar pulsed with light, brighter and brighter, until the glass cracked with a sound like thunder. Dr. Ford whispered, "Impossible." And in that moment he realized something terrifying. Aria's heart was not dead. It was calling home. The sound came again, a soft, living rhythm echoing through the cold laboratory. Thump, thump, thump. Dr. Elias Ford stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat. The jar on his metal table shook with every pulse. Inside, the alien heart glowed brighter than before, its veins of silver light spreading through the glass like cracks of lightning. He had seen many strange things in his career. Organs that twitched after death, alien blood that hummed like electricity, but never this. This heart was alive. He stepped closer, his reflection trembling in the glass. The light inside the jar flickered faster, almost like a heartbeat syncing with his own. "No, this can't be happening," he whispered. The machines around him began to glitch. Screens blinked red. Alarms flickered and data filled the monitors with strange symbols, words he could not read. He quickly pressed commands, trying to shut it down. But the systems didn't respond. Then a voice echoed through the speakers, not mechanical, not human. It was soft. It was sorrowful. It was her. "Where are my daughters?" Dr. Ford's blood ran cold. The voice belonged to Ariha, the alien mother whose heart he had taken only hours ago. He looked at the jar again, but there was no mouth, no face. The voice was coming from inside the heart. "Impossible," he muttered again, backing away. "You're dead. A mother never dies. Not until her children are safe," the voice whispered, trembling like distant wind. He grabbed his communicator and called his assistant. "Juno, get in here now." But the door stayed closed. The communication line was dead. The lights flickered once more. Then every bulb in the room burst at once. Glass shards scattered across the floor, glowing faintly. Only the heart's light remained, bathing the room in a soft silver glow, and then the jar broke. The heart floated upward, free from the shattered glass, dripping with golden fluid. Its glow pulsed like breathing. It hovered in front of him, silent, watching, though it had no eyes. Dr. Ford felt a strange warmth spreading in his chest. Not fear, not pain, but something like guilt. He had made many trades before. He had bought and sold hundreds of alien lives. But this was the first time one had spoken back. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice shaking. The heart pulsed once softly. "Return me?" "To them." "To who?" "My daughters." The lights flickered again, showing a holographic image above the heart. Two small alien girls, sitting outside the trade station, clutching their small bag of food, waiting for a mother who would never return. Dr. Ford's throat tightened. He hadn't meant for this to happen. He had only followed orders, only done what the Empire paid him for. But now the past was looking back at him, glowing, breathing, alive. The heart spoke again, weaker now. "They are hungry, cold, alone. Return me to them before it is too late." And then the glow dimmed. The heart dropped suddenly, hitting the floor with a wet sound. It stopped moving. Dr. Ford knelt beside it, staring. His mind raced. Every law, every rule said alien remains were property once purchased. He could be punished and even executed for disobeying. But still that voice echoed in his head. A mother never dies. He picked up the heart carefully, wrapping it in his coat. He didn't know why, maybe guilt, maybe fear, but he felt something deep inside him change. That night, under the red moons, he left the trade station without permission. Outside, the cold wind of Varine bit through his coat. The alien city stretched before him, dark towers, broken domes, and the faint lights of starving families. He walked fast, hiding the heart under his arm. Every few seconds he thought he heard it beating again, faint but steady, like it was guiding him somewhere. After hours of walking, he saw them, the two little girls sleeping near the ruins of a fallen tower. Their food bag was empty. Their silver skin had turned pale blue under the cold. He stood still, unsure what to do. Then the heart in his hand began to glow again, softly, warmly, as if it recognized them. He knelt beside the children, whispering, "Your mother. She wanted you to live." One of the girls stirred in her sleep and opened her eyes. She looked at him, at the strange human holding the glowing heart, and whispered something he didn't understand. But somehow he felt the meaning. "Mama?" Tears filled his eyes for the first time in years. The heart pulsed brighter, and the air around them shimmered, a faint light spreading like wings over the children. Dr. Ford whispered, "What have I done?" The night on Varine was colder than usual. The twin moons hung low, watching silently as Dr. Elias Ford knelt beside the two alien children. Their eyes, faintly glowing silver, looked weak, yet something in them reminded him of their mother, Ariha. The glowing heart in his hands beat softly, slow and warm. Each pulse sent a shimmer of light across the broken stones, as if the world itself was breathing again. One of the girls, the elder one, sat up and stared at him. "You human," she said softly.
"Why do you hold my mother's light?"
Her words were shaky, but her eyes were steady. Dr. Ford didn't know how to answer. For a long moment he said nothing. Then finally his voice cracked. "Because she asked me to bring it back." The little girl blinked, confused. The younger one was still asleep, her small hands clutching a piece of cloth torn from her mother's dress. Dr. Ford placed the heart on the ground between them. The silver glow brightened, forming a faint circle of light. The dust lifted around it, swirling slowly like mist. The ruins, once silent, began to hum with a low vibration, deep and alive.
What's happening?
He whispered. The older girl tilted her head, her voice calm. Mother's calling the world, and she was right. All around them, the air shifted. The broken metal of the towers trembled. The dead trees nearby began to move, not with wind, but with energy. A silver wave spread across the ground, awakening something ancient beneath the surface. Dr. Ford stumbled back, shielding his eyes. The glow from the heart was now bright enough to turn night into day. Then he heard it, a voice in his mind, soft but clear. Elias. It was Ariha's voice again, but stronger, almost peaceful. You brought me home. He turned around, but no one was there. Only the air shimmered, and within it appeared a holographic shape, faint at first, then clear. It was Ariha. Not flesh and blood, but light and energy, her form rebuilt from the beating heart's pulse. The daughters gasped, reaching forward. Mother! Ariha smiled gently. Her figure flickered, but her eyes glowed like stars. My little ones. Do not cry. I am here. Dr. Ford fell to his knees, unable to speak. He had seen technology that revived machines, but not souls. This was something else, and something beyond human science. How are you alive? He asked. Ariha turned to him, her voice kind but full of quiet power. You took my heart, Elias, but a mother's love cannot be sold. It remains in every breath of her children. You brought it back to them, and through them I live again. The words struck him deeply. He looked down, guilt tightening his chest. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done it. You gave it back, she interrupted softly. And that is enough. The light around them spread wider, reaching the ruins of nearby homes. The wave of energy revived dying plants, filled broken water channels, and lit the air with tiny silver particles. The world of Vareen was awakening, but something else was awakening too. Something watching. Far in the sky, above the clouds, a human satellite recorded the surge of alien energy. Red lights blinked on control panels across the human empire space stations. Messages flashed on screens. Unauthorized energy source detected. Sector Vareen. Back on the planet, Ariha's form flickered again. She looked tired. The humans will come, Elias. They will not understand. They will try to take it again. Dr. Ford clenched his fists. They'll destroy everything. Then you must protect them, she said, her voice fading slightly. Protect my daughters. Protect what is left of this world. He nodded slowly, feeling something inside him shift, a purpose he had never known before. The older daughter looked at him with wide eyes. Will you stay with us? He hesitated. He had been a man of science, not faith. But now, standing before a living ghost and two innocent children, he felt something far greater than any equation. Yes, he said quietly. I will stay. Ariha smiled one last time. Her figure dissolved into a swirl of light that wrapped around her daughters. The heart stopped glowing, but its energy had already passed into them. The wind grew calm. The ruins were silent again, but not dead. Alive, waiting. Dr. Ford looked toward the distant sky, where the first human ships were already descending through the clouds. Red lights blinked like angry eyes. He whispered to himself, They're coming. Then he turned to the girls, his voice steady now. We have to move. Your mother gave us time, but not much. The elder one took her sister's hand, and they followed him into the night, toward the old tunnels under the city. Behind them, in the sand, faint silver lights glowed where Ariha's heart once lay, like stars forming a path. The awakening had begun, and humanity was about to face something it could never control. The storm clouds over Vareen glowed with red light as the first human empire ships broke through the sky. Their engines burned like falling stars cutting through the dark clouds. The sound rolled across the land, a deep thunder that shook the ruins below. Down in the tunnels beneath the old city, Dr. Elias Ford listened to that sound with dread. He knew what it meant. The Empire had seen the energy surge from Ariha's awakening, and now they were coming to take it, to claim it like they had claimed everything else. The two alien girls huddled near a small fire. Their eyes reflected the orange glow. The older one, Sarah, was quiet and calm, just like her mother. The younger one, Nai, clutched a piece of glowing crystal that had formed where Ariha's heart had once been. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Elias knelt beside them. "We don't have much time," he said. "The Empire's soldiers will land near the trade station first. Then they'll spread across the city." Sarah looked up, her voice steady but soft. "Will they hurt us?" He hesitated. "They'll take you, study you. They'll say it's for peace, but it's never peace." The fire cracked softly between them. For a moment, silence filled the tunnel, except for the distant thunder of engines above. Then Nai whispered, "Mother said you would protect us." Her words hit Elias like a blade of truth. He looked down, guilt heavy in his chest. He had been the man who took their mother's heart, and now somehow he had to become the man who saved her children. He nodded slowly. "I will." Far above, in orbit, the Empire's commander watched the planet through a glass screen. Her name was Admiral Kira Holt, sharp, efficient, and loyal only to the Code of Conquest. She had received Dr. Ford's disappearance report and the data from the energy spike. "He broke protocol," said her aide. "He stole classified biological property." Kira's cold eyes narrowed. "No, he stole something we don't yet understand, and that makes him dangerous." She turned toward the planet. "Prepare the drones. I want him alive." Back underground, the girls were sleeping now. Elias stood near the tunnel entrance, watching the faint silver mist that drifted in from outside. The heart's energy was spreading further each hour, reviving plants, restoring air, awakening the planet. It was beautiful. And deadly. If the Empire captured this power, they could turn it into a weapon. And Varine, the last home of Ariha's kind, would be gone forever. Suddenly, a sound broke through the quiet, the echo of metallic footsteps. Elias grabbed his small blaster and turned toward the noise. The beam of a searchlight cut through the dust. A voice rang out, robotic and clear. "Dr. Elias Ford, you are ordered to surrender immediately." He fired once. The blast hit a wall, sending dust into the air, then grabbed the children's hands. "Run!" They sprinted down the tunnels, their footsteps pounding against the cold metal floors. Behind them, the sound of drones grew louder, mechanical wings slicing through the dark. Sarah turned back and raised her hand. For a second, her silver eyes flashed bright, and the air behind them rippled. The tunnel wall shifted, forming a solid block of glowing stone. The drones crashed into it, exploding in bursts of light. Elias stared at her, stunned. "What did you just do?" She looked down at her glowing fingers. "Mother's power. She's inside us." He didn't have time to ask more. More drones were coming. The hum of engines echoed through every corner of the tunnels. They reached a hidden exit, an old transport shaft that led up to the surface. Elias slammed the control panel. The lift began to rise, slow and creaking. Through the cracks above, he saw the red light of warships descending. When they reached the top, the city was burning. Human soldiers moved in formation, scanning the streets with red lasers. Drones floated like vultures above the ruins, and at the center of it all, a giant black ship stood over the trade station, its shadow swallowing everything beneath. Elias turned to Sarah and Nai. "Stay close to me. Don't speak. Don't move." But as they stepped out into the open, a spotlight locked on them. A voice echoed from a loudspeaker. "Dr. Ford, you are under arrest for treason and theft of Imperial property. Surrender the subjects immediately." Sarah grabbed his hand tightly. Nai began to cry. The crystal in her palm glowed brighter, and suddenly, the air around them began to shake. Winds rose, dust lifted, and from the ground, faint silver roots of light grew outward, connecting everything around them. Elias shouted over the roaring air, "Sarah!" "What's happening?" Her eyes glowed white. "Mother's not gone," she said softly. "She's coming." The soldiers raised their weapons. The commander's voice barked through the comms, "Open fire!" But before a single shot could land, the ground beneath them cracked open, and a wave of pure silver energy exploded outward, blinding everyone in its path. When the light faded, the soldiers were gone. The ship above trembled, and from the crater's center rose a familiar shape. Tall, radiant, and alive, Ariha had returned. The dust settled slowly over the shattered city. Smoke curled through the ruins, glowing silver in the strange new light. From the center of the crater, Ariha stood, reborn. Her body was made of light and energy, not flesh. Streams of silver fire flowed through her like living veins. The wind bent around her, whispering softly, carrying the sound of her heartbeat, the same heart she had once sold. The soldiers who survived the blast froze where they stood. Their helmets reflected her figure, tall, graceful, terrible. None of them dared move. Even their machines trembled, their sensors confused by the living energy before them. Dr. Elias Ford could not speak. He felt both awe and guilt crash together inside him. He had watched her die with his own hands. Now she stood before him again, alive in a form that no human science could explain. The two girls, Sarah and Nye, ran forward crying, their voices breaking the silence. "Mother, you came back!" Ariha turned slowly, her eyes glowing bright and soft. She knelt down, and when her daughters touched her hands of light, the glow turned gentle, warm like a heartbeat. The ground itself seemed to sigh with relief. "My little ones," she said softly, her voice echoing through the air. "You kept the light alive." Elias stepped closer, his boots crunching on the broken stone. "Ariha," he whispered. "This isn't possible." She looked up at him. "You gave my heart back, and through that gift I was reborn. I didn't mean to. Intentions do not matter," she said kindly. "Only choices." Before he could answer, a deep voice boomed from the sky. The Empire ship above them was descending, its engines shaking the earth. A hologram appeared in the air. Admiral Kira Holt herself, her sharp face projected in crimson light. "Dr. Ford," she said coldly, "you've gone too far. Step away from the subjects immediately." Elias looked up, shielding his eyes. "You don't understand. She's not a weapon, she's alive. Everything that moves is property of the Empire if it comes from alien origin," Kira replied. "And that includes whatever that thing is." Ariha's glowing eyes turned toward the hologram. "Property?" she said, her voice calm but thunderous. "You humans take what you do not understand, and you destroy what you cannot own." The hologram flickered. The Admiral frowned. "You can talk?" "I can feel," Ariha said, her voice echoing like music and storm together. "And I can fight." With that, she raised her hand, and the ground beneath the human troops shifted. Roots of light burst upward, wrapping around the soldiers' weapons, melting the metal without burning flesh. Machines short-circuited, drones dropped from the sky like dead birds. The Empire ship above began to shake violently as the energy wave climbed higher. Inside the command deck, alarm screamed. "Admiral, the systems are failing!" A soldier shouted. "Source of interference unknown." Kira clenched her teeth. "Unknown?" "It's her. She's rewriting the atmosphere itself." Back on the ground, Elias reached toward Ariha, shouting over the roaring wind. "Stop, you'll kill them all." She turned to him, her glowing hair swirling like liquid fire. "They killed my world, Elias. Not all of them," he shouted back. "Some are like me. We can change this." For a long moment, she stared at him. Then her light dimmed slightly, calming. The wind slowed. The roots retracted into the ground. The ship above steadied. Her daughters clung to her, whispering softly, and for the first time since her rebirth, Ariha looked almost human. Tired, sad, but still alive. Elias stepped closer. "You have to leave. They'll keep coming. They'll never stop." "I know," she said quietly, "but I will not hide again. My children deserve a sky that is free." She turned to her daughters. "The time has come to awaken Vereen." Sarah nodded, understanding somehow. She closed her eyes, and the crystal in her hand floated into the air. It spun slowly, humming, and shot upward like a comet, piercing the dark clouds. From the heavens, beams of silver light spread across the planet, touching the oceans, the mountains, and the dead forests. Everywhere it touched, life returned. The dying world began to breathe again. Elias fell to his knees, tears filling his eyes. He whispered to himself, "She's healing the planet." But the Admiral's voice broke through his awe. "This is an invasion. All units, prepare orbital strike." The Empire ship's cannons charged, glowing red. Ariha looked up calmly, her eyes shining brighter. "If they burn us," she said softly, "they will burn themselves." She spread her arms, and the sky split in two, half red with human fire, half silver with alien light. The two forces met above the city, colliding in a storm of colors that shook the heavens. Elias shielded the girls as the light engulfed them all. For one long, endless moment, there was only silence, and then a heartbeat thump thump. The world did not end. It transformed. When the light faded, the world was silent. No engines, no weapons, no screams, only a strange, peaceful hum that filled the air. Dr. Elias Ford slowly opened his eyes. He was lying on the ground, covered in dust and silver ash. The sky above was no longer red, it was split. Half glowed with soft blue clouds, alive and gentle. The other half shimmered with waves of silver light that moved like water. A new sky, born from the war between human fire and alien heart. Around him, the ruins of Vereen had changed. The metal buildings that once lay broken were now covered with vines of light. The sand was no longer dead. It pulsed faintly with warmth. Every breath felt alive, rich with strange new air that shimmered in his lungs. He sat up slowly, dizzy but breathing. A few meters away, the two alien sisters, Sarah and Nye, were standing beside their mother. Ariha no longer glowed as bright as before. Her form was dimmer, her body made of half light, half flesh, as if she had poured part of her power into the planet itself. Sarah saw Elias and smiled weakly. "You survived," he tried to smile back. "Barely. What happened?" Ariha turned toward him. Her voice was calm but faint. "The world has changed. The fire of humans and the light of Vereen met and created balance." He looked up at the half-blue, half-silver sky. "Balance? It looks like two worlds stitched together." "Yes," Ariha said softly. "Half human, half Vereen. The planet remembers both." Nye stepped forward, holding something in her small hands, only a silver seed glowing faintly. "Mother said the world is growing again." Elias looked at it, amazed. "That came from the explosion?" "No," Ariha said. "It came from my heart. The last piece that still beats." She placed her hand over her chest, where once there had been nothing. Now faint light pulsed beneath her skin. Above them, in the still sky, pieces of the Empire ship floated quietly, broken metal drifting like clouds. The strike had failed. The Admiral's last order had burned itself out against the power of Vereen. But deep in orbit, aboard another human vessel, Admiral Kira Holt watched from a surviving pod. Her face was pale, her eyes reflecting the new planet below. "He did it," she muttered. "The fool actually did it." Her second-in-command stared at the screen in disbelief. "The planet is alive again. It's creating energy, endless, renewable." "Commander, we could—" "No," she interrupted sharply. "We lost control of it. That planet is no longer ours." She stared at the glowing surface of Vereen, her voice cold and quiet. "But we'll return. We always do." She turned away as the pod drifted back into the shadows of space. Back on the planet, Elias followed Ariha and her daughters through the city. Where there had once been lifeless streets, new trees were sprouting, made of silver bark and glowing leaves. Pools of crystal water reflected both the blue and silver skies above. The air smelled like rain and dust mixed with something new, something living. He stopped near the old trade station, now half buried under vines of light. "Everything's changing. I can't even tell what's human or alien anymore." Ariha looked at him gently. "Maybe that is the point. You call yourselves human. We call ourselves Vereen. But the universe doesn't care for such names. It only asks what we choose to be." He nodded slowly, looking around. "And what do we choose now?" Sarah answered before her mother could. "We choose to protect, not to rule," Nye nodded. "Mother says the light inside us is not for war. It's for healing." Elias smiled faintly, though sadness lingered in his eyes. "You sound wiser than I ever was." The two sisters smiled, a small, warm thing in a broken world. Then Ariha turned serious. "The humans will come again, Elias. They will see what happened here and they will not understand. When they come, they must find something worth believing in." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She touched his chest lightly, right over his heart. "You have seen both sides, their greed and their fear, but also their kindness. When they return, they must see not a weapon, but hope. That is your task now." Her light dimmed further, her body fading slightly. Elias's eyes widened. "Wait, you're disappearing." "Not disappearing," she said softly. "Becoming part of Vereen. The world needs strength to stay alive. I will give it mine." Sarah and Nye held her hands tightly. Mother, please don't go. Ariha smiled, tears of light in her eyes. I am not leaving. Every breeze, every river, every star you see, that will be me. Her body turned into shimmering dust, swirling upward into the sky. The wind carried her light, spreading it across the horizon until it blended perfectly into the silver half of the heavens. For a long time, no one spoke. Only the sound of new life filled the air. Elias whispered, "Goodbye." Ariha. Sarah looked up at the glowing sky. "Not goodbye," she said softly. "She's still here." And in that moment, the silver clouds rippled gently, as if the world itself agreed. The twin suns rose again over Varine, but the world beneath them was no longer the same. Where there had once been ruins and ashes, now rivers shone with silver light and trees grew tall, their leaves glowing faintly in the dawn. The air was soft, the ground was alive, and above it all, the sky remained half blue, half silver, a reminder of two worlds stitched together forever. Dr. Elias Ford stood on a ridge overlooking the valley. His coat was torn, his hands rough, but his eyes were bright. He had lived through war, guilt, and miracles, and now he stood as the last bridge between humans and the children of Varine. Beside him stood Sarah and Nai, the daughters of Ariha, the alien mother who had given her heart to feed them and her soul to heal the world. They watched the sunrise together, the light touching their faces gently. Sarah spoke first, her voice calm and wise beyond her years. "The world is healing, Doctor, but it remembers everything, even pain." Elias nodded. "The human world remembers too. They'll come back someday, with ships, scanners, rules. They'll want to take this again." Nai looked up at the sky, her small hands glowing softly. "Mother said the light will protect us." Elias smiled sadly. "She said the same to me." For a moment, none of them spoke. Only the sound of wind through silver leaves filled the valley, like whispers of 1,000 soft voices. It almost sounded like Aria's song. Weeks passed. Elias and the girls built a small settlement near the edge of the old trade station. They called it Haven, a home for both humans and aliens who had survived the great storm. There was no empire here, no rules, no masters, no buyers, only life rebuilding itself. Each morning, Elias taught the children of Varine how to read human books. Each evening, Sarah taught him how to listen, to the hum of the earth, to the song that came from the roots beneath their feet. At night, they would all sit by the fire, and Nai would tell stories about her mother, how she sold her heart, not for glory, not for revenge, but for love. Her words were simple, but they carried the power of truth, and people listened, because even the coldest hearts can feel warmth in the face of sacrifice. Then one night, the stars above shifted. From beyond the horizon, a bright shape entered the sky, a ship, human-made. Elias saw it from the tower and felt his chest tighten. "They've returned," he whispered. By morning, the ship had landed in the valley. Its surface bore the mark of the Empire, though the symbol was faint, worn and changed. A group of humans stepped out, their armor cleaner, lighter, their faces open, curious instead of cruel. At their front walked Admiral Kira Holt, older now, her sharpness replaced by quiet understanding. She stopped a few meters from Elias, her boots sinking softly into the glowing soil. "Dr. Ford," she said. "You're still alive." He smiled faintly. "So are you. I thought the explosion destroyed everything." "Almost," she replied. "But it also opened our eyes. The Empire fell. The war ended. We've been searching for survivors and for answers." She looked around, awe softening her face. "This planet, it's beautiful." Elias nodded. "It's called balance now. Half human, half Varine." Her gaze fell on Sarah and Nai, who stood behind him. Their silver eyes glowed gently. "They're her children, aren't they?" "Yes," Elias said. "And her legacy." Kira lowered her head almost respectfully. "We came not to take wing, but to learn." For the first time, Elias believed her. He turned to Sarah and Nai. "This is what your mother wanted. Understanding, not fear." Sarah stepped forward, holding out the silver seed her mother had left behind. "Then learn from this," she said softly. "Plant it. Watch it grow, but never try to own it." Kira accepted the seed with trembling hands. "I promise." That evening, as the sun set, the humans and the aliens worked side by side for the first time. They planted the seed in the valley, a single glowing sprout that soon grew roots deep into the living soil. Its light spread softly, connecting everything: humans, aliens, the air, and the stars. Elias stood watching, tears in his eyes. He felt a breeze brush past his face, warm, kind, familiar, and in that moment he heard a whisper carried on the wind. "Thank you for keeping your promise." It was Ariha's voice, gentle, distant, eternal. He looked up at the silver sky and smiled. "Rest easy, Ariha. They understand now." The stars shimmered brighter like her eyes once had, and in that light, the new world of Varine finally felt whole.